Hello, student. This time, when the whole world is facing COVID 19, we are locked down in our home for our well being. It is only prevention that we are going to follow to save our lives. It is our first priority that we should save our life and make us continue for the time to come. At the same time, we can also continue our study as well. Now today we are going to talk about the poem The Gift of God, which is otherwise known as Puli also. We have already gone through this poem when we were meeting regularly in our college, but as the examination approaches, we think we should revise and make a fresh look on the subjects that we had already discussed. I think that this poem is going to be one of the important poems from our examination point of view, and at the same time you can say that this poem helps us understand the great poet George Harwood, who has written this poem and so many other poems based on his religious and metaphysical experience. We know that he is the poet of remarks. He has made English literature enrich by his contribution. We should note down the period that he belongs to. He is between 1593 and 1633. We already know that metaphysical school of poetry is a very important phase in English literature. Here the poet was talking about the metaphysical thing like love, God, nature, and life, death, and so many religious themes. When we describe the term metaphysical, we find that the poem is going to make the explanation of the subject matter, which is religious, which is above physical. We know there are two entities, one is physical, another is metaphysical, which is not physical, or the entity which we cannot see through our sense organs. Here the poet is talking about love that God has for human being and vice versa. It is such an important thing that we cannot live without love between God and us. So the very purpose of this poem is to take into account the relentlessness that human being has. The poet thinks to unveil the truth as to relentlessness and unsatisfying condition of human being despite having everything he wants. God has made us full in the sense that we are the best creature God has made, and at the same time we can say that we have been given everything to make our life advanced and progressive. So as we are the best creature, definitely there should be the link of the Creator. And if we are full in all respect, God fears that we may lose our contact. So we can say that the nature of the poem is imaginative, in the sense that the theme of this poem is metaphysical, so we can say it is imaginative as well. We cannot prove the theme that poet is talking in this poem in any experimental way. There is no experiment as such made so far that can say that the saying of the God is to be tested there. At the same time, we can say that religion has been the matter of imagination. But it doesn't mean that it is purposeless. It has been made for our cozy life. It has been made for our sustainable life. We can imagine the world, the situation, which is the best for human being. Now here also we can say the poet has imagined in the best possible way that can help human being make a relationship with God. So at the very outset we can say that he has imagined the way by which we can maintain our relationship with God, and God can also maintain our relationship with us. Now this is all the nature of the poem and the purpose of the poem that we have discussed. Now we are going to the main stress area, that is summary of the poem, and we have made certain points which have been very naturally captured in the poem. We can say the poet writes, when God made man, he thought of endowing him with several virtues. We already know that we are full with many virtues. We are the creature which is able to do anything by dint of the virtue endowed on us by the Almighty. Because man was his best creature, he decided to give him everything. Now we can ask why man is the best creature. If we ask this question, we find it is all due to the grace of the God, that all the best things that God has been endowed on us. God has decided to let us endow with all the good things and good qualities. So God has made human beings possibly the best by providing the virtues, by providing the qualities which we cannot observe present in other beings that God has made. It is very much reasonable. God is thinking, God is a thoughtful creature. We cannot say that God has given us the best virtues only for nothing. God would have thought what to pour on and what not to pour on man, having certain consideration in his mind. It is of the general observation that if we give everything best that we have to somebody else, maybe to our son and to our offspring, we find that it is not going to be good for our offsprings as well. When we think from our parents' point of view, as God is ours, we are always thoughtful what to give and what not to give. And accordingly, we decide the thing that we should give to our children. Likewise, God is our parents. We are all children of God. So God has considered what to give and what not to give. And it is an argumentative poem because God is thinking, God is presenting certain kind of arguments. He is not only just providing the thing and not providing thing out of his whim. We cannot say that because God is all powerful, so God wanted to do this thing and God did not want to do this thing. On the other hand, we can say God has always thought, God has made some arguments, and we can say God has made us convince why should this be given and why should this not be given. God has argued to himself before giving and not giving virtues to man, because we are in parent-children relationship. The poem is based on the poet's imaginative faculty, however, it seems to be much more convincing. By which we can say that the poet does not cross the limit of imagination. It is imaginative, however, it is rational. It is imaginative, however, it is argumentative. It is religious, however, it is reasonable. We can find it very much surprising that God is keeping two contradictory ideas together. That religion, generally it is said, is not placed with reason. Imagination is not placed with argument. But here in this poem we find that God is keeping both the viewpoints, or the poet has used both the viewpoints, argumentative and imaginative, religious and argumentative, which is God is going to think that there is a very, very divine relationship between man and God. Yes, because God is the creator, we are the created. So there is a relationship of creator and created. Or it is not mechanical relationship. We can say we are creating some product and there is a kind of relationship. We are affectionate of that kind of creation. We are fond of creation. Whatever you are creating, we are man, the creator, who has created lots of things. And so what do we find? We find that man always tries to keep his creation under his control. Man never thinks the created to be going out of control. Similarly, we can say when God is the creator, God has thought human being not to go out of the realm of his love and affection, because there is a very unseen but divine relationship between God and man, which is really unbreakable. As we give birth to child, naturally there is a kind of relationship. We cannot define that relationship. However, we can say that there is a relationship which remains unbreakable, not only for this life but for many, many lives to come. According to our Hindu scripture, we can say that we are not explaining the relation of our ancestor and us only for one certain life. It is going to many, many lives. It is all because of our bond that is divine bond. Likewise, God and human being has a divine bond. We may try to go away from the influence of God, but there is something which does not let us do the same. Because God has made certain mechanism within the system that man should be under his control, under his divine relationship. As we never want our children to go out of our control, we always want our children to be in relationship with us. Similarly, as God is our forefather, or God is our ancestor, God is our creator, so he has thought of this kind of things. So before making man, God made a rational plan as to empowerment of man with inherent quality. We also think of giving certain kind of quality to our product, that it always remains under our command, under our control. We are never trying to think that we should give all such qualities to our created that should disobey us, that should start disobeying us. So there should be inherent quality that it could function well. At the same time, it should be obeying our command as well. So God has always been talking and thinking in terms of the virtues that is to empower on man, that man can continue his progress, man can continue his head development, man can live with a very uplifted kind of condition of life. But it may be described as a divine plan. Divine plan because it is not seen, however, it is felt. We can always feel. Sometimes we try to break our relationship with God in certain strainful situation, but we can say that there is certain thing which always brings us back to the divine altar. Despite our effort to break down our relationship with God, there is something divine within that stops us from doing that kind of thing. So God became pleased with making man, so he could not hesitate to embellish man with some precious qualities or virtue. As being the parents, we always want our children to be full with all precious qualities or virtue. But at the same time, we also think of our just children not to be driven away from the right and righteous path. And that is always going to link up our children with us, and we are also going to make certain relationship. So we can not hesitate to make our children as much virtuous as it is, but we do not want to see him as a driven being, as a being which is deviated. So God actually also does not want to see human being to be deviated. That man should not be overpowerful. Man should not be conceited enough to break down the relationship with nature and God. In this way, man has been blessed by God in many ways. God had some best gifts to propose man. While making man, God kept his glass of blessing beside him to take out treasures lying within. So when God was creating human beings, there was a glass of blessing standing by him. That glass of blessing was full with many good virtuous things, many precious things that God was eager to pour on human beings. So he was looking at the glass of blessing, and at the same time he was looking at the man, the best creature. And so God was eager to propose everything best or everything, the best gifts scattered in blessing glass. Now, we can say that He is all powerful, no doubt. He is all powerful, and He has numberless blessings in His blessing glass. So, one by one, He tries to hand over the virtue or the quality or inherent precious thing to man. So, God first decides. Now, God thinks what to give first, and He decides to give strength to man. So, we can say that strength was given to us. Now, we also say that in this poem, we have been given a strength by God. The poet thinks so, that to be the best, man needs a strength. But here I think that it is not the physical strength that poet is concerned with. Because when you are explaining human being with other beings on the ground of physical strength, we can say there are so many beings which are more powerful physically, which are stronger physically than man. So we can say that here, after comparing this kind of thing, man will be lacking strength, physically speaking. But God thinks, or the poet describes here, that along with physical strength, we need mental strength to overrule other physically powerful being. We can also say that mental strength is more important than physical strength. Because mentally you are stronger, so we are overruling other creatures. So perhaps God gives both kinds of strength, physical, but most probably it was the mental strength that was of major concern by the God to be given to human beings. So we may find that there are so many creatures which are physically stronger than man. However, man is known as the strongest being. How can you say so? We can say so because it is by dint of mental strength that man is going to overpower all the strong and powerful creatures living on the earth. So God provided mental strength to overpower all our living beings. And it is why we are able to do or able to physically or mentally rule over other things. So there are so many other things which were lying, but which were scattering into the glass of blessing. We can say beauty is also a treasure, wisdom, honor, pleasure, and likewise there are valuable blessings lying in the bottom or lying in the glass, but they were scattered. God is looking at all the blessings one by one and handed over beauty, wisdom, honor, pleasure. Yes, so man is beautiful, man is wise, man is full with honor, man has pleasure. And we can also see that we are beautiful because we have been made beautiful. And there are so many religious poets who are full with pleasure when he looks at beautiful human beings. And we can realize that this creation is possible only by something which is all powerful. That when we look at the beautiful person or beautiful lady, we can say that this sort of beautiful creature is not to be created by other being, but some most unknown, most powerful entity, that is God himself, or we can call him by any other name. And so wisdom, yes, wisdom is the quality that has made us more civilized. And it is by the faculty of wisdom we can say that we are here just able to make decision, think about comparatively what is right and what is wrong, and what is good and what is bad, And it is by wisdom that we have explored so many just unknown things in this world. So Socrates was a wise person, and we can say the scientist like Newton was the wise person, because the wisdom brings us into light from darkness, and it is going to help us pave the way of invention and discovery, and whatever the history of civilization has been, it is all due to wisdom. And so we have got honor as well. And when we have created so many things by our wisdom, we definitely are pleased, we have pleasure. So it looks that God was really very happy to see the creation of God. At last God found, okay, that let man not be equal to God. Because we see that when we are going to be so powerful, we are going to be empowered by our mental and physical beauty and by our creation, that we may start competing with God himself. And there are so many stories of demons in our Hindu religious texts who are actually going to defeat God by the blessings given by God himself. And so it is all because of just lack of certain kind of thing, that we are just always reminded by those divine stories in our Hindu religious text that we are the creator. We are the created, and God is the creator. So we should respect this relationship. It is why God is going to once again look at the glass of blessing, and there he found just a rest lying at the bottom of blessing glass. There he became pensive. Here there is a point to stop. God is going to stop giving the last treasure lying. That was rest. Now God is thoughtful because God is going to take the decision whether rest be given to man. Will it be all justified? I think further he describes that whether man should be provided rest too. He thought that in that condition what will happen? Now he is giving the blessing, and he is also trying to analyze the result. What will be the result when God gives beauty to man? What will be the result if God gives just wisdom to man? God decides that there will be no harm in the relationship between God and man, even if man is beautiful, or human being is beautiful, or human being is wise, because they are going to search him truth. So there is no question of losing anything in that way. By strength, man cannot defeat God. By wisdom, man cannot defeat God. By beauty, man cannot defeat God. So the relation will be intact. But now here is the concept of rest. Now here psychologically he is analyzing everything. He thought that in the condition rest is given to man, both would be loser. Both would be loser. And here too, it is the argument that God is presenting here. He presents the reason why not to give rest to human beings. When he got it, what will happen? He may forget God. Because we can say that man has been trying to get peace and rest in his life. If man is restful, man does not need anything. We can say that our Veda is also talking about the peace and peace, the rest and rest that we are trying for. And when we are at rest, when we are in peace, there will be no further progress. It is a stage of inertia, we can say. And when someone is in a stage of inertia, that is going to delink all the further progress. So here, God is the creator, so he knows sluggish human nature will be the result. Because when we are creating something, we try to analyze just item by item. Suppose you are making some software, we are trying to develop that software and we are trying to give the virtue that should be according to our necessity, and that should also be under our control. It should not destroy even the creator. Or any software program that you are making should always be just in touch with the creator. That creator can sum up the problem if there is any. But when the thing comes in restfulness, then it is not responding. And in that sense, we cannot do anything. So he starts praising the things he gets, and God would be of no significance for him. It is what once again the reasoning is of the God not to give rest. Because when we have got everything including rest, now why to remember God? Who is God now? Even the name of God will be in question. The existence of God will be questioned, because man will just talk about himself only. He will be thinking that he is the most powerful creator, even the more powerful creator than the God. And in that question, what will happen? It will happen that we can not try to make any relationship. So, as the poet belongs to metaphysical school, he presents two reasons for a strong bond between God and man. We have already mentioned that metaphysical people, philosopher, poet tries to resolve the mystery that is lying between man and God. And it is just paving our way for religious progress. It is paving our way for virtuous progress. The very purpose of the poet in this poem is just to make us know what sort of relationship is lying between man and God. You may be the best creator on the earth, but we are not the best creator in the universe. It is for this reason that God has not provided him the rest. That rest has so many dysfunctions as well, that it will stop man doing certain works. That will be the very much disastrous thing in the civilization of human beings. So man has inborn loyalty to God, and he is born with goodness, faith, and divine emotion to God. It is the first reason that God is explaining that how nice is the relationship, and it is all due to restlessness of human beings. Secondly, in the material world man uses to forget his loyalty to God. Even this time you can say the world in which we are living in the stage of pride and conceit. We have naturally progressed a lot and we have created a lot in this world. And now this stage had made us think not of realizing the existence of God. The progress of science sometimes has stopped man thinking of existence of God. Because we are thinking that we are doing ourselves everything. There is no other being to regulate us. But we forget that it is wisdom by which we are creating, provided by God. So had wisdom not been given to us, we would not have been able to create anything. But in our pride, in our conceit, we just miss this point. So God decided to make him tired. Out of general experience, we can say the person who is tired is making the best possible way in his life. We can see the examples of so many persons who were not given sufficient facilities in their lives, but they have been tired of doing something. We can say that they have got it. Had they been restful, they would not have been contributing in the way that they have contributed. Here we can take the example of so many cricketers, so many scientists, so many poets, so many politicians who were actually devoid of opportunities, but they were tired of, they were just restless of doing something unique. So they achieved what is really surprising. We simply cannot hope each and every person of doing the same kind of thing. So during the weariness, we all remember God. When we are in trouble, we are looking at God for help, for certain kind of hidden wisdom to work and make the way for. So when we are in darkness, we are in wearisome condition. To come out of the darkness, we are tired of just doing something. We are tired of finding some way that can lead us to come out of that darkness. And we can say that it is all due to our what we can call this quality. We can say restlessness is also the virtue that has been given. It was not the rest, opposite was given by God, that man could be always doing something religious, something divine, something social, something political, for the good of the human being. So it is a religious text where you find the search of eternal rest. Yes, it is eternal rest, that is coming from God and going to God back. There only we can find rest. In between, there is restlessness. So it is not the rest that physically we should get. It is the eternal rest for which we should try. And our text has always been, religious text has been always been talking of that ultimate objective of human being. That is the eternal rest. And that is the ultimate rest we can find only when we just are merged with God, wherefrom we have come. And so here it is the just way we are making our life glorious, grandful. So God has rightly not bestowed rest on human being. We can also say that it is the restlessness is the precious jewel of life. We can say it is the most important jewel that man has been given. So we should try to discover rest that is ultimate rest, and that makes us full with a spiritual pleasure. Where we are in search of eternal rest, we are actually full with a spiritual pleasure. We are always trying to find the well-defined way that is true, that is valid, and it is not going to harm this world, this cosmic world rather. So God wanted to make the man restless for his spiritual progress. That is the final aim of the life. So these are all the points which have been discussed. They are points of the poem, just a gift of God. Naturally, our life itself is a gift of God, full with so many jewels, so many virtues. It is by dint of those virtues and jewels, we have done a lot, and we have been religious, we have been spiritual. And George Herbert is going to find that we should always be spiritual, our temperament, when we are remembering God. God will also be just very much endowing us with the best that God is thinking for human beings. So I think for this purpose, we have described the major points of this poem. Once again, we can just talk about all the essential points taken into account so far from this poem, God of God and Puli. We have talked about the poet. We already know that it is George Herbert. The two important adjectives that we should remember about the poet is that he is a religious and metaphysical poet. We have just hinted at the point how he is religious, how he is metaphysical. Now then, we have talked about purpose of this poem, that is to find truth as to restlessness and unsatisfying condition. Yes, we are in unsatisfying condition. God has put us in a hot water to come out from the condition and make our survival in the best possible way. And then it is the nature of the poem. We have already said that there is no scientific proof that we can give for all the points that poet has raised here. It is out of his imagination that he has talked everything, but it just touches on our heart, it touches on our mind, and it looks very much convincing because of the thing that he is argumentative, he is just full with reasoning, and he is thoughtful. So it is not completely a religious poet in the sense religion. If you say that religion is only just the collection of stories which are imaginative, unrelated to the real world, is not true to say. The poet here has made religious rooted to the just real life, and then we have followed the summary of the poem, and we have just to conclude today that we should always try to remember God. It is and will be remembering God because of the relation that exists between God and human being. So I hope we have known the basic points, but there are some more points to discuss about this poem too, and that I think that we are going to talk about these points, say justification of the title. We can also talk about the structure or strategy of the poem, although they are so much important, and sources of the poem and the stanza-wise analysis of the poem, and with diction later on. So for the timing, I hope that we are going to revise all these kind of things for your examination, and if we have any kind of just idea to share with me, we can talk about, we can raise some questions, we can also start thinking about the poem. Reading poem doesn't mean that we should accept what has been said here. It should start the creation on our part also. We should also think in your own way, out of your own experience and knowledge, that we can also have your personal view on that point that the poet has discussed in the poem. thank you very much once again, and later on we can talk about the other points which we have already pointed. So for the time being, we are just going to make us stop, and we can stop here from by this way and by that way. So thank you very much.